45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
What's good, my friends? Marc Ryan here, in for Zach Gelb today on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Fantastic to have you guys with us. Here's what's coming up over the next 3 hours. 3 NFL teams that the media loves, but I'm selling on. An unconscionable decision by the NBA. Something Major League Baseball is doing better than any other sport. Mike Silver and Jarrett Bell join the show. And would you rock the Burrow Blonde? That and so much more coming your way this afternoon between the hours of 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern Time, noon and 3 Pacific. Here's how you can get in touch. You can give us a ring at 855-212-4227. That's 855-212-4227. You can get to us on Twitter at INF Sportsnet, or should I call it X? I have a hard time with that, man. I'm at Marc Ryan on Air. That's at MARC Ryan on Air. You'll see you tweet to me. We'll get to your tweets live and on the air. Facebook.com/INF Sportsnet and listen live. InfinitySportsNet.com. There are certain teams, my friends, that are media darlings. There are certain players that are media darlings. And I tend to be in my life a bit of a contrarian by nature. I don't know why. I don't know what the genesis of that is. It may be that, like, my dad was so overtly positive growing up that I just kind of stopped buying the BS at a certain point, and I look for the other way. And so when I'm told that this is going to be great, naturally I look at things with a bit of a skeptical eye. Are you the same, or are you a little bit different? There are 3 teams that the media is constantly in love with, and I think it's a bunch of hooey, all right? And I just keep hearing how it's going to be different this year, and it never is. The greatest predictor of future behavior is what? Previous behavior, right? It is foolproof, greatest predictor of future behavior. And yet, here we are in another season, and we're supposed to believe that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be great again. Do we look like suckers as Americans? How in the world is this team still America's team with no conference championship game berth this millennium? They haven't won 2 playoff games in a single playoffs this millennium. How does the greatest country on earth sign up for that mediocrity? Well, the Dallas Cowboys over-under this year for wins is 9.5. And guess what, my friends? I'm picking them to miss the playoffs. Now, Stu is my frontline man today, and Stu, in a few minutes, I'm going to give you a chance with either a yay or a nay, or a ding of the bell or a buzzer, to tell me whether you buy or sell what I'm putting out, okay? But the Dallas Cowboys are at 9.5 wins, and it's a total joke to me. All right? They've got Ezekiel Elliott at starting running back. Do you realize Ezekiel Elliott is collecting Social Security right now? No, I'm kidding, but he does collect the senior citizen discount. Kidding again. CeeDee Lamb is one of the NFL's best playmakers, But guess where CeeDee Lamb isn't? Oh, at training camp. Because he knows he's got the Cowboys by the balls. They have no one else but him, and they've got to pay him. Couple that with the fact that the Dallas Cowboys did really less than nothing this year in free agency. Less than nothing in the draft or free agency. And you're asking yourself, okay, are we supposed to crown them, as Dennis Green would say, because they have the star on their helmet? Ooh, they added old Eric Kendricks at linebacker. But they lost Tyron Smith. They lost Tony Pollard. They lost Dorrance Armstrong. They lost so much. So you know what, my friends? Dallas Cowboys missed the playoffs this year. And they have the uncertainty of the Dak Prescott situation. One thing you cannot afford to do in the National Football League is pay good players great prices. You can't afford to do that. You want players that perform their best when things matter the most, right? It's why I've always sold on Lamar Jackson, who has as many MVP awards, too, as he does postseason wins. As a matter of fact, Lamar Jackson has proven to you that regular season wins aren't valuable because they never win when it matters most, right? Dak Prescott asking for $60 million a year over my dead body. Guys, I think there's way too much distraction. I think not having ABCD Lamb is an absolute destructive blow for this team. And I'm going Dallas Cowboys under 9.5 wins. I'm going Dallas Cowboys missing the playoffs. Skill position players ranked 20th out of 32. Stu, can I get an amen for that? Yay or nay? Are you with me, my friend? He's with me. Stu is with me. Do you hear this? We're off to a very, very good start on the show today. I love to hear it. So we keep it going with team number 2. Team number 2 I am selling on. The Buffalo Bills. The over-under is 10.5 wins. Based on what exactly? I'm about to give you guys a stat. Are you wearing socks? I'm about to blow them off. Okay? There has never been a head coach there's not a head coach among active coaches that have won the Super Bowl that has done so in year 8 or later with their current team. Of the 9 active coaches who have won the Super Bowl, and I'm including Belichick and Pete Carroll on this list because they still would like to be coaching, all won it in their first 7 years as head coach with the team they won the Super Bowl with. Sean McDermott is entering year 8. They got a breakout running back, James Cook. They've got a tight end, Dalton Kincaid from Utah, that folks have high hopes for. They got a bit of a Swiss Army knife in Curtis Samuel. But Khalil Shakir was Josh Allen's most reliable target last season. And we're supposed to believe that in year 8, when he's already shown that he can't do it, and no Stephon Diggs, that this team is going to be better. Buffalo Bills under 10.5 wins. Stu, Kovacs, with me or against me? Oh, why, Stu? Why?
I just think when you have Josh Allen, I understand like there are some parts of the offense and part of the team that you question, and especially losing a guy like Stephon Diggs. But in the end, I still think having Josh Allen, I think they can win 11 games and make the playoffs and win that division.
Dave Davis.
Yeah, no, like there are definitely misses and guys have to step up. Yeah. No, you're not wrong, but I do have faith in Josh Allen.
So that's the thing, right? Is that like to elevate Josh Allen back into the playoffs, perhaps as a division winner. Stu, you might have him as a division winner. I think they're in trouble in that division against Miami. But what you're saying is that Pat Mahomes can win with Mark Ryan and Stu Kovacs at wide receiver, and you're putting Josh Allen into that category because that's essentially what Buffalo has right now. I'm not willing to do that with anyone but Patrick Mahomes. And when you consider the fact that I think the team is a little bit losing belief in the head coach, I think they're in for a tailspin this year. I do. When I say that, I mean a team that is fighting till the last week to make a wild card berth, all right, relative to expectation. They just haven't gotten over the hump. And you credit Sean McDermott to getting them to this point, right? And that's why no one in Buffalo wants to move on from him because he's the only one who's won there. But in life, guys, you have people that can get you to a certain point, and then that's all they're able to do. That's the relationship has lived its full lifespan. And that, to me, is the situation with one Sean McDermott. Then I have the New York Jets, over under 9.5 wins. Now, if Stu Kovacs is a Jets fan and our network offices are in New York, then I'm already going to get a buzzer before I start, all right? But the over-under win total is 9.5 wins based on what? I love the skill, the talent, Breece Hall running back, Garrett Wilson wide receiver. Mike Williams, former Clemson wideout, is an interesting addition, but in 7 years in the NFL, he has 2,000-yard seasons. He has been wildly inconsistent. But to me, guys, this comes down to a lack of faith, a lack of trust in Aaron Rodgers, who was more interested in walking like an Egyptian, being in Egypt during a mandatory team activity than he was, getting his timing down with his new teammates. I don't trust him. And further, I don't trust his age. Father Time is undefeated to everybody except Tom Brady and to a lesser degree LeBron James. Do you know that prior to Thomas Edward Patrick Brady, Vinny Testaverde led the NFL in starts in a season after the age of 40? You know how many they were? 6. The true greats age differently. And I think Aaron Rodgers, we're hyping him as a great when, historically speaking, he's won a single Super Bowl. That puts him in line with a bunch of relatively mediocre quarterbacks who also won a single Super Bowl. What is the proof? What is the evidence that this guy is going to be, number one, on 2 feet, number two, successful at this age? All right? What's the proof? What's the evidence? Anyone? Bueller? Fry? Then you tell me they're in a division with Miami, perhaps best skill position talent in the NFL. A-Chain, look for him to make a massive step up at the running back position this year. You got the Bills vying for playoff position. I mean, to me, you don't put them last in the AFC East because New England is in that division. But I think this is a team fighting to get noticed. This is not, to me, a contender. And if you're going to sell me on Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to say to you, based on what? New York Jets, easy under for me, Stu, and a team that everyone is buying that I'm selling hard on. Agree or disagree? He agrees. Why, Stu?
I just think, and again, I know you brought up the Dolphins when we were talking about the Bills. I think the Dolphins are a very good team. I'm a little higher on the Bills, obviously, than you are, but I just think those two teams are far superior to the Jets. Rodgers being, he's going to be 41. I just don't trust him staying healthy. The drama that comes with it. I don't think it's going to be a disaster where they're going to win like 5 games, but I just don't think they're going to be competing for a playoff spot where they would have to win 9 or 10 games. I just don't see that.
And then you've got the team that I think is going to be better than what people expect. Are you ready? It's the team I now cover, my friends, and I'm not homering it up. I just can't believe the national disrespect of the Detroit Lions. I'll give you an example. The Football Power Index says the Lions have a 52% chance to win their division. I'm sorry, come again? 52%. So they're a coin flip to beat who? To beat whom? The Bears? The Vikings? Okay, they're a coin flip to beat Green Bay. Really? Really? Based on what? Jordan Love had a good second half. How many players have had a good half of a season? Mac Jones had a great half of a season, right? 52% chance to win their division. I have seen top 10 coaches lists, national top 10 coaches lists for NFL head coaches. Dan Campbell's not on them. What? Based on what? Do you realize that he brought the Lions back from the dead? And then the odds for the Lions to win the Super Bowl are on par with like Cincinnati and Philadelphia. All right, spell the word Philadelphia. No D is anywhere to be found. That is still going to be the case. Cincinnati has a quarterback rocking some beautiful blonde locks, but he's also made of paper mache. And you're telling me the odds for the Lions are on par with Cincinnati and Philadelphia? Really? Really? Guys, the over-under for the Lions this year is 10.5 wins. Okay? Now, I want you to consider this for a moment. They do not play, in my opinion, anybody that could be considered a contender until November. All right? Until November. They play The Detroit Lions, they play, wait for it, all of one game outdoors before November. And you know what that game is? Arizona. Might as well be indoors, okay, on September 22nd. Furthermore, you tell me where the Super Bowl contender is before November. Rams, Bucks, Cardinals, Seahawks, Cowboys, Vikings, and Titans. Where's the Super Bowl contender there? The Rams without Aaron Donald. Okay. The Cowboys with a running back on a retirement plan and a receiver not at training camp. Okay. Look, guys, this is a team that could get off to a very, very good start. This is a team who was 29th in pass efficiency defense last year, but really addressed their secondary. Carlton Davis, Eric Armstead, Terry and Arnold in the draft, Ennis Rakestraw, right? You have added so much to this team at the position of need. They're going to be so much better this year. And I'm telling you what, guys, Detroit is the team, in my opinion, that is the very best shot to knock off Kansas City. Buy or sell, and it's like people just want to keep Detroit down. They don't want to be proven that they're a one-hit wonder, right? And I'm here to tell you, with Dan Campbell, they're no one-hit wonder. And the people here feed off of this disrespect. So just keep doubting them. Keep building that chip on the shoulder, man. It's working wonders for them right now. Buy or sell, Stu, the Detroit Lions as a viable Super Bowl contender. He is. Do you hear that?
I'm in on the Lions.
Maybe I did a good job selling it. What is up with the national disrespect, though? Dan Campbell, not a top 10 coach in the NFL. 52% to win the division. Bills with better Super Bowl odds. Lamar Jackson, the only guarantee with the Baltimore Ravens is they need the Heimlich maneuver every single postseason. Okay? You're telling me those teams have a better chance to win the Super Bowl? Oh, here's another one for you. Pro Football Focus. Not a top 5 roster in the NFL. So Pro Football Focus doesn't think they're a Super Bowl contender because anyone who does is in the top 5 on rosters. You have got to be kidding me about this. So where do you agree? Where did I swing? Where did I hit? Where did I miss on all these? 855-212-4227. That's 855-212-4227. Marc Ryan in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show. Up next in News Brief, you won't believe what one player got caught doing at halftime. Right here on the all-new Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
It's the Zach Gelb Show. Marc Ryan in for Zach here on the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Wonderful to have you guys with us. All right, time for news brief, and you heard the tease. You won't believe what one player got caught doing at halftime. I love storytime radio, and that's what we're getting into right now. Here is Chauncey Billups.
We in New Orleans. We're down like 18 at the half. I had a kid, he had a nasty dunk. We coming out for the third quarter. This motherfucker done posted his dunk on his joint.
Stop it.
At halftime.
Yo, stop.
Yo, at halftime,
Hey,
bro, we down 18.
You gotta optimize those numbers.
What you do, though? What you man, you know I grinded his up, man. I get wind of it. I said, hey, yo, bro, get the back there and take that down off your joint, man. What the is wrong with you, man? Yeah. My bad, coach. He run to the back. We getting bombed, bro. We down 18. He posted joint at halftime. I said, man, what is going on?
Yo, I got to tell you, if my wife was to share with you live on air her biggest beef with me, it's that I've brought my phone in many places where I should not, okay? And I will leave it at that. Sounds like Chauncey Billups has a similar situation. Posting a dunk, your own dunk, to social during halftime. Onsides or offsides, it's something the new school is all about. The old school wants nothing to do with. I'm rocking old school on this one, man. I really, really am. Chauncey Billups for the win. Just take my word for that. Paul George here with a feeling that he was playing well for the redheaded stepsister in the City of Angels. Here we go.
Coming back to L.A., that was home. when I first came back to LA, but it's not the same love. Because when I was in LA, they like, man, you should have been a Laker. That's all I was hearing. It wasn't no like, oh, welcome to the Clippers. Yo, we happy you in LA, but you should have been a Laker.
You was on the second team.
I'm on the B team. That's how the vibe and the love felt.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Look, that's from the podcast P with Paul George. The earlier clip was from 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast with Carmelo Anthony. The reality is he's part of the reason they were the B team with the Clippers. All right? When does this dude accept accountability? And furthermore, when does adding Paul George ever work out? This is yet another example in the NBA where adding players based on name and fame doesn't add up to the game. Do I understand what Philadelphia did, bringing in Paul George? I do. But it was a move out of desperation. Necessity is the mother of invention. They had to do something. Their issue is, I don't think Embiid has the alpha mentality to be a champion. And you're seeing it with Team USA getting ready for the Olympics. The worst plus-minus for any player on the team is Embiid. So you got a guy in Paul George who never accepts blame. And you got a guy in Embiid who should have an endorsement with Pampers because he's that soft, right? There's the issue there, my friends. That is most certainly the case. All right. How about we check in with one Jim Harbaugh, who is back with the Los Angeles Chargers. Jimbo, how does it feel to be back in the National Football League?
The way it feels, feels like New Year's Day, feels like being born. Feels like coming out of the womb, It's like you're in there and it's comfortable and it's safe and now you're out, you're born, the lights are on, it's bright, got chaos, people looking at you, people talking at you, and just feels good to have it happen.
He is so unbelievably awkward, but equally awesome, isn't he? Like there is only one of him. By the way, I can't recollect any memories from the womb, okay? I can't remember them, quote, turning the lights on, okay? I can't remember feeling safe. I can't remember any of that. But I'm glad that Jim does. Look, guys, he's just a fantastic coach, and the most impressive thing about him to me is he's an old school coach in a new school era that gets his players to buy into the old school approach. How many coaches have you heard say, I'm unable to do that? You can't yell at players today. I was a high school teacher in Houston, Texas. The high school football coach came to my classroom and he said, Mr. Ryan, I can't, today, if I bench a kid, he just stops coming to practice. And then he ducks me in the hallway and his parents don't answer my calls. They don't come to practice anymore if you bench them. They quit the team and they don't even let you know they quit the team. And so imagine how being an old school mindset in a new school era creates a problem. Well, Jim Harbaugh is that way. And he gets the buy-in to build champions. It's why I'm not really a proponent of what Michigan did to replace him, just going next in line to Sharon Moore, his assistant, because I don't think you can replicate what Jim Harbaugh does. Look for the Chargers to be one of the 6 new playoff teams in the National Football League this year, man. I couldn't be more bullish on what Harbaugh is going to do for them and also Justin Herbert's career. How about Dan Campbell and his message to the players of the Detroit Lions as they begin training camp? Here's Coach Campbell.
I talked to him last night, and it was really like it's been. It's all about the work. We don't live off reputation, we live off of work. And that's what's gotten us where we're at. It's been a long, hard road to get to where we're at right now, and there's a price to be paid, and so we got to go pay it again. That's the message, and it'll always be the message.
Yeah, but he's not a top 10 coach in the NFL, right? Not a top 10 coach. He had the guts to say when they lost in the NFC Championship game, this hurts so bad because there's no guarantee you'll ever make it back here. And they had a 24-7 lead. Yeah, I believe that Dan Campbell is still growing and maturing as a head coach. Yeah, I believe there are times where he crosses over the line from aggressive to reckless. should have kicked a field goal instead of going for it, regardless of what the analytics said against San Francisco. That said, there has never been a more perfect blend between coach and city than Dan Campbell and the city of Detroit and the Detroit Lions, man. Think about it. Rough around the edges, blue collar, no nonsense. City of Detroit. Rough around the edges, blue collar, no nonsense. Dan Campbell, made fun of. City of Detroit, made fun of. Well, I'll tell you what. He who laughs last laughs best. And my belief is the Lions are going to have their day in the sun, and I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. That is my true and honest opinion. Finally, we've got head coach of the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel. Will Tua Tagovailoa be the anti-ABCD lamb in practice while he's hoping to land a new deal?
The plan is something that I think there's two parts to it. You know, I think it's important to acknowledge that Tua is in the midst of a contract negotiation. That's important to him and the football team. That being said, we communicate very well, and it's very fluid. We're taking it day by day today. I expect it to be kind of like OTAs, and we'll move on from there.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what. They're between a rock and a hard place, in my opinion. What do you do with Tua? You know, again, the best ability is availability. Can you rely on him to be available? Do you not feel as I do? You know, like, for example, I feel like Brock Purdy is so much more legit than I do Tua. Tua has looked awful in some very, very big games. Brock Purdy looks like he's cool, calm, and collected always. I happen to be of the belief that Mike McDaniel could make about 28 quarterbacks look really, really good in his system, and that Tua is one of those 28. So how badly do they need him? Well, I will tell you what, man. I'll tell you what, their backup quarterback is Skylar Thompson, so maybe they need him more than one might think. But the reality, guys, is he good enough to win a Super Bowl? Tua Tagovailoa, I think that is a very viable question, and his poor play, I think, is a major reason why the Dolphins haven't advanced further than they have. Up next on the show, would you rock this style? I don't think you would, but I'll double dare you, and I'll do it next. My name is Marc Ryan, in for Zach Gelb here on the Zach Gelb Show. Now it's time for a sports update with Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And Mark, we're sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at Progressive.com. History for Dylan Cease, a no-hitter, walking 3, struck out 9 as the Padres blanked the Nationals 3-0. First career no-no for Cease, the second in Padres franchise history. A few other games still going. Tigers lead the Guardians 3-0. That's bottom 9. White Sox and Rangers even at 1. They're in the 4th. The Rays a 1-0 advantage on the Blue Jays in the 2nd. One final as the Orioles coughed up a 6-run lead, but still able to outlast the Marlins. That is 7-6-10. Colton Cowser homer drove in 3. Olympics right around the corner. Team USA didn't lose a tune-up exhibition, but didn't exactly look great. And Steve Kerr looking for them to turn up the intensity.
It's literally 6 games. And watching the tape, we're jogging through some possessions. We're not hitting bodies on box outs. And so it's time. It's time to lock in on that. And as I said, that's for all of us.
Not the best first impression for Russell Wilson, unable to practice on the first day of camp with the Steelers due to a tight calf, so Justin Fields took all the first-team reps. Kirk Cousins a full go at Falcons camp, veteran cleared fully as he recovers from last year's torn Achilles. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
It's the Zach Gelb Show. Marc Ryan in for Zach here on the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Awesome to have you guys with us. So, this to me is increíble. All right, Joe Burrow shows up to camp, and he knows what's going to happen. And the thing is, this dude, gives no bleeps at all. You know, like his first playoff game, he rolls in rocking like this black and white ensemble, and it's like, dude, do you realize if you lose, you've got to wear that after the game in the press conference? And, his ability to just block all that out, man, and have fun shows you why he is that dude who was able to single-handedly resurrect the Cincinnati Bengals from the ashes. It's why I put him in a totally different category than I put Justin Herbert. Ask me who the second-best QB in the NFL is. For me, it's not Josh Allen. It's Joey B. Now, look, they got to do a much better job protecting him. He's got to stop being papier-mâché. I don't know how you become less injury-prone, but he's got to show that he's able to do that. But, just the cojones to come out there and do what he does and to have the confidence in himself, who he is, to be able to do that is in and of itself impressive. I'll never forget this, guys. In college, I was on an intramural basketball team, right? And it was just four of us, totally normal, average athletes from the dorm. And we get there to play in our intramural game, and we're going up against players on the football team. And, you might know some of the names. Jaquez Green, Ike Hilliard, Thaddeus Bullard, right? Okay. So, think about this. Think about this for a minute, okay? We're playing against this team. And I've got on, Thaddeus Bullard, by the way, is wrestler Titus O'Neil. I've got on a do-rag. And a guy on my team looks at me and says, take that do-rag off right now. We lost 96-24. I will never forget that. See, Joe Burrow has the confidence to rock the do-rag whether they win or whether they lose. And it's something else. So did you see this? He comes into training camp rocking a blonde military cut, crew cut, blonde, looking exactly like doing his best Eminem depression. Hails from Detroit, Eminem, right? And it's shocking to everybody. And it's the talk of training camp. But I will tell you this, it's a brilliant marketing ploy. It really is brilliant. What do we know Odell Beckham Jr. for? Great plays, flamboyant personality, but the hair is a big part of it, right? What do we know James Harden for? Okay, killer crossover, great first step, bad attitude, but the beard is a big part of it, right? It's a brilliant marketing ploy. Joe Burrow comes to Bengals camp rocking the blonde locks. And here is Joe Burrow talking about the Burrow blonde.
Well, BJ said that if I buzzed it and bleached it, he would do it too. So now everybody's got to hold him accountable because he's got to do it in the next week.
Is there anything else to it?
I got bored. That's about it.
How many Eminem references have you had over the last couple days?
Well, I haven't exactly been too social the last couple days, so I'm not entirely sure, but I'm sure they're out there.
Guys, I can't get enough of this. And it's so weird and it's so random. And I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. It shows me, right, again, that he is totally comfortable in his own skin. And that he is willing, open, and able to rock the blonde locks. So we thought here on the Zach Gelb Show that we would talk to you guys about different styles. Which one of these in sports would you be most likely to rock? That's right. We're going down the runway with you here on the Zach Gelb Show on the all-new Infinity Sports Network. All right, the Joe Burrow hair, the blonde crew cut. I got no problems with it, man. I got no problems with it whatsoever. Now, you might notice if you're watching me on the stream right now that they came out with a product just for me. It's called Just for Marc, okay? Not just for men, just for Marc. And the problem is I've got an increasing amount of white that is protruding here, all right? I don't appreciate it, all right? Somebody called me Sean Connery the other day. I made an enemy for life when they told me that. The Joe Burrow hair, Blonde is not as bad as white. As a matter of fact, let's go platinum while we're at it, shall we? The Joe Burrow hair, Stu Kovacs. Would you do it? How much would you do it for, Stu? Yay or nay?
I would do it. I've never dyed my hair or really done anything other than, get it cut at a barber. So it would be something totally different for me, but I would try it. I don't think you'd have to pay me that much either. Maybe a little bit, but not too much.
Look. Throw me $500 on the side, okay? Throw me $500 on the side. Give me a couple blonde locks. Cut it short, all right? I had blonde hair when I was a baby. It doesn't look very natural, I got to be honest with you, but I'm down with it, man. The Joe Burrow hair, listen, we're walking down the runway here tonight. This is beautiful. I like the Joe Burrow hair. I'm down with the fashion, all right? Now, up next, Stu Kovacs. You didn't think I was going to make you this uncomfortable on a Thursday afternoon, did you?
Did not.
Dennis Rodman cross-dressing, all right? Would you rock this style? The Dennis Rodman cross-dressing. Stu, listen, this is putting you on the spot, man. I'm finding that spot. I'm putting you on it. How much to do the Dennis Rodman cross-dressing going to work, Stu? Okay? You can't tell anybody the reason why. You can't tell anybody you were paid to do it. You just got to show up tomorrow at work, Dennis Rodman cross-dressing style. Yay or nay? Would you do it? How much?
I would not do it. I guess there is a price that I could be had at. So maybe let's just say for one day at work, maybe $5,000, I'd say. If you gave me $5,000, that'd be pretty hard for me to turn down just for one day.
It is so out there, right? The Dennis Rodman look, that it almost takes the pressure off. Because, clearly if you show up like that, well, okay, this guy's looking for attention or this guy's looking for this or that. I one time, Stu, lost a bet, all right, and I had to wear lipstick inside a grocery store.
Ooh.
And you kind of forget that you have it on, okay? It was like, your girlfriend left her lipstick in the car by mistake. You forgot, you lost a bet. Suddenly, next thing you know, you got to rock the lipstick, and you lose a bet. You got to wear it inside the grocery store. And let me tell you, you do get looks, but I looked very slippery smooth in that appearance. Okay, very, very slippery smooth. The Dennis Rodman cross-dressing. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I would do it for less than you, Stu. I do.
Wow. Okay.
Throw me $1,000. And I will rock the sundress, which I think the sundress is in competition for the bikini as the best clothing item ever invented by mankind. So I'll rock the sundress. Will be the only sundress ever with hairy legs, but I will rock the sundress Dennis Rodman style. You got it. Okay, next up, the late, great Craig Sager. All right, more on his former network coming up on the show, but his suits. Have you seen these? These look like a peacock mixed with pastel. The Craig Sager suits. Stu Kovacs, buy or sell?
It is not my style, but if you wanted me to wear one of those suits, those, very colorful, checkerboarded pattern, just ridiculously looking suits, I would do it, yes.
Why did we get so boring with our suits? Go back to the 1960s. What suits are they wearing? They're all wearing black or gray. Light up your life a little bit, man. Good for you, Craig Sager. You know what? If you would be so kind as to grandfather me into one of Craig Sager's suits, not make me pay for it, I'd wear it for you. Free of charge. Free of charge, man. I'm down with the Craig Sager suits. Sports fashion at its best. I don't need to give anyone an explanation. I'm comfortable in my skin, man. I feel it. And I feel really, really good. Next up, the LeBron James suit shorts. Stu Kovacs. Did you see these, Stu? He had a suit jacket on, a sport coat, and there were suit shorts that he wore with dress shoes. I got to tell you, Stu, I'm going to interject here. This might be the worst look of all time. All right? We are not supposed to wear, and there's a lot of styles that I can't get on board with. Like these days, people are wearing pants that are way too short, and they don't have socks. And I'm sorry, that just, it doesn't look good. I don't care that it's in style. Dress shoes with no socks and short pants, is a bad look. How about suit shorts with a suit coat and dress shoes? Come on, man.
No.
I'm telling you, Stu, you could not pay me enough.
I agree with you. I just don't think it's necessary. If you're wearing a suit, wear a suit. If you're not wearing a suit, then that's where the shorts come into play. So I know sometimes in the summertime, 90-something degrees, it could be hot in the suit, but it just isn't a good look. It's terrible. I'm with you. I don't know if I could be bought on this one. Again, I guess if there was enough money, I'm sure I could be, but it's just a horrible look in my opinion.
Absolutely awful. So, let's confirm. We would both do the Joe Burrow hair without much fanfare. One of us would do the Dennis Rodman cross-dressing without a problem. One of us would have issue with that. Craig Sager, we don't have much of an issue with the Craig Sager suits. And LeBron James suit shorts would be a hell to the nah power for both Stu Kovacs and I. Would you rock this style in sports? Joe Burrow rocking the blonde locks today. What do you say, ladies and gentlemen? That is a look at sports style today, right here on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Great to have you guys with us. It is an interesting look, to say the least. I will tell you this, Stu. On my to-do list here in Detroit, now working in Detroit, came from the Carolinas, is to go by the house that Eminem grew up in. It is now an occupied home. It's in a lower socioeconomic area of Detroit, and it's not like some sort of tourist attraction. It is a currently lived-in home, and it's apparently known by people in the area, and I want to go see it because I want to go see the story. And Joe Burrow, very much looking like Eminem in his latest current style. So there you go. Guys, the other thing I want to get to here is Caitlin Clark and, what we just saw over the weekend. And it's crazy, right? Like, Detroit is a very provincial area. The people here only care about what's going on here. And that's something in my first few months here that I've learned the hard way. They don't care about anything else going on. The NBA playoffs are going on. The Pistons are a team here. They don't care. Stanley Cup final is going on. Red Wings, storied Original Six team here. They don't care. But this is a topic that crosses through that I get calls on, even in an area as provincial as Detroit. And it's Caitlin Clark. And guys, this puts me in a very, very uncomfortable position because I am the guy who dons the red, white, and blue. I love the Olympics, which are coming up. Some events like soccer are already underway. Team USA, by not adding Caitlin Clark, is really tempting me to be un-American and root against them because I find that to be total BS. You see, they want her to pay her dues in order to get to earn her spot on her team, but she paid the entire tab for the WNBA in terms of making them relevant. And they left her off the team for no good reason whatsoever. And on Saturday, I wish the NBA would take a cue from this. The NBA could have their All-Star game be American players versus international players. You know why they won't do that? Because they'd lose. International players are the top 4 players in the NBA. Giannis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic. They'd lose. That's why they don't want to do it. But the WNBA did WNBA All-Stars against Team USA. So you had 12 girls who didn't make the team but really wanted to against the supposed 12 best players in the world. And the WNBA waxed them. And I couldn't have been rooting for the WNBA and Caitlin Clark more. Guys, look, life isn't about being fair. It's about capitalizing on opportunity. And if you had put Caitlin Clark on that Team USA team, that would have been must-watch TV. But to prove to you that she is the reason for the season, that she is the reason why anybody's watching, watch how little attention and fanfare that Team USA gets. All you had to do was make her Christian Laettner. Make her the 12th person on the team. That's all you had to do. And all of us would have been glued from beginning to end, asking for her to play, but rooting on Team USA. Instead, are you like me? I'm tempted to root against them. I feel somewhat bad saying that, man. I really, really do. All right, up next, Mike Silver joins the show. He covers the San Francisco 49ers. Why isn't there a league-wide consensus on how good Brock Purdy is? That's next. My name is Marc Ryan, in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show, here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Marc Ryan in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Great to have you guys with us. You know, guys, the San Francisco 49ers are an interesting case because they are a heavy favorite in the NFC. They're a co-favorite to win the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs, who are going for the ever-elusive three-peat. But, and this is fascinating, there is not an active coach who has won the Super Bowl that has done so after year 7 with his current team. Kyle Shanahan is attempting to do that this year in year 8. How long exactly is San Francisco's window? And what to make of Brandon Ayuk? Joining us right now is a nationally known columnist for the San Francisco Chronicle. His name is Mike Silver, and he's got an awesome book out right now, The Why is Everything. It's going to be available on October 1st. Mike, great to catch up with you, man. Truly appreciate the time. How are you this afternoon?
Great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
You got it, Mike. You got it. So how would you define the length of San Francisco's window to win it all?
I try to do that a lot, and people get angry. On one hand, they have an ascending franchise quarterback in Brock Purdy that they believe will elevate. So if you put it in those terms, probably pretty wide. But they have one more year of the gift of Brock Purdy on a rookie deal before they are even allowed to pay him. And they pay a lot of players who've played a lot of football, by and large, at other positions. And they are feeling that financial stress even now when they have Purdy on the cheapest deal possible. So quietly they got Christian McCaffrey a raise. They got Eric Armstead, or they asked Eric Armstead to take a pay cut, lost him, got Kyle Juszczyk to take a pay cut. Quietly Trent Williams has asked for more. He is holding out, and Brandon Ayuk, who could play on the fifth-year option, but obviously wants a big deal instead, is in camp but holding in. So a lot going on, and given that this may be the last year before there are some big changes, there's a lot of incentive to get it sorted out before the season starts.
That certainly seems to be the case, and that is obviously the golden window to win it all when you've got that stud quarterback on the rookie deal. How would you expect this team to look differently once Brock Purdy is paid, and I fully expect that to happen?
Well, I guess it depends partly on what happens this year. In other words, if they win it, I think it gives you the freedom to maybe make some more radical changes. If you come close again, I don't know if it's if they have a 7-10 season and it all goes to hell, then there'll be big changes. But some of the people they'll be making decisions on, if Ayuk does sign a new deal and they drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round, that would almost certainly mean that Deebo Samuel is gone after this season. If Ayuk ends up playing on the fifth-year option, then it's more of a Hunger Games situation where he and Deebo are competing to see who stays and who goes. George Kittle also factors into that mix. He could be gone after this season, presumably. Their best two corners, Charvarius Ward, coming up a great season, and Diamador Lenore, who could thrive in this revamped defense are both up. So if they don't get an early extension done with either of them, they'll have some hard decisions there. And they've got some older players like Yushik, Javon Hargrave, and players coming off of injury like Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. So very, very interesting. They've been able to pay a lot of guys, and these are some of the best players in the league. The roster is stellar, and they solved a lot of problems after the Trey Lance debacle by hitting on Purdy at 262. They're very well coached. They're very well managed, but they need to rise to the occasion these next few weeks. They need to get Trent Williams done, because without him, that offensive line is dubious at best. And Ayuk being in camp gives me a feeling that they're not too worried about him, doing something radical, and they think he'll ultimately take a deal. But they obviously would like to do that before camp ends as well.
It's interesting on Ayuk. I think he falls into a similar category of Brock Purdy, where because of the brilliance of Kyle Shanahan, people don't really know how good he is. There's a feeling that a lot of guys could come in. They've got a lot of belief in Ricky Pearsall. Mike, I went to the University of Florida. I saw what Ricky Pearsall could do. I think he could step in and be a 1,000-yard receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. Do you consider Ayuk to be an essential piece to winning a Super Bowl, or could they survive without him?
Well, not as essential as Trent Williams. So right now I would turn my attention to Trent Williams first. But, they really, really like him. They drafted him 4 years ago. They saw him get a lot more mature and a lot better. He blocks. He's an excellent route runner. And so you want to reward that, whereas Deebo Samuel is more of a novelty player, but so integral to the fabric of, how they play. He's multi-positional, and he gives them energy by the way he plays with such physicality. So I think they're prepared to pay Ayuk. What happened was, there was a deal probably to be done a little bit after the season, and then the receiver market kind of went nuts. And, we all understand Justin Jefferson, and I think we would all agree Ayuk is no Justin Jefferson, but, guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle got big, big deals. And so I think Ayuk's expectations went up, and that's where the disconnect has been. And, they talked about trading Ayuk before the draft. They had some talks about Deebo Samuel during the draft, possibly being traded. That could still happen up until the trade deadline, by the way, in either case, if it, depending on how things change. But as for Pearsall, your fellow Gator, they're really, really excited about him. And Kyle Shanahan, after they drafted him, was asked for a comparison and compared Pearsall to him. And I almost said out loud, dude, I love Kyle, but dude, come on. If John Lynch compares a first-round pick to John Lynch, I'm kind of fired up. He's a Hall of Fame safety. Don't really want to hear that a first-round receiver reminds me of Kyle. I think he was going for a little bit of humor, but Kyle Shanahan loves him. He has flashed in the offseason. On the other hand, he had a blue jersey on during OTAs. I seemed to have some sort of rib injury, and now he's on the non-football injury list to start camp with a hamstring injury. So, I think they want to see him out there, obviously, before they make any proclamations. They are very excited, though.
Mike Silver joining us. Mike, why isn't there a league-wide consensus on how good Brock Purdy is? I continue to hear media guys say they're in the Brock Purdy camp or they're not really in the Brock Purdy camp. I have an easier time with Purdy than I do Ayuk because I see his IQ and smarts on display in that system versus what we just saw with Trey Lance. Brock Purdy seems to possess so many more of the qualities that you need to succeed in a Kyle Shanahan offense. Plus, he gives you that mobility that he can flip on a moment's notice. I don't understand the lack of acclaim for him, the question marks surrounding him. Your opinion on the lack of a league-wide consensus?
Well, I would say, first of all, people can't get over draft position. There's so much emphasis placed on the draft. It is treated as such a transformative event when in reality, the numbers would show you that it is not always that. So it's hard for people to get over that. And Trey Lance, it took 3 first-round picks to get that 3rd overall pick, which they took him with. Actually, more than 3 first-round picks. So when people look at Trey Lance, they can't get past that. And by the way, Trey Lance, the quality that most wowed them was his intelligence, his off-the-chart intelligence. So it's clearly not an issue of him not being able to grasp that offense. It had more to do with accuracy. But Purdy was obviously – look, my book will reveal that certain people, or one certain person specifically, may have understood how good Brock Purdy could be, but the rest of the people making that decision obviously didn't, or they would have taken him much, much, much higher. But at 262, a lot of people look at him and just go, well, how good could he be? They can't get past the 262. I'm just telling you, as someone who has observed him daily and seen him play and seen what a stone-cold killer he is and how good he is at so many things and getting better, by the way, there is no ambiguity in that building. And most important, Kyle Shanahan decided a long time ago that this guy is an elite player. We're going to pay him. We're going to build around him. And the only hesitation at any point was he obviously had a very significant arm injury that, put last season in doubt. He bounced right back from that. So Brock Purdy's going to be the guy. They're going to build around him. And if the rest of the country hasn't, or some people in the rest of the country haven't figured it out yet, Kyle Shanahan's definitely not tripping on that.
Mike Silver, San Francisco Chronicle, joining us here on the Zach Gelb Show. Mark Ryan sitting in, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Mike, where does adding Christian McCaffrey and not surrendering a first-round pick rank among the greatest heists of the century?
Well, not as much as the Dolphin, or not as much as the Trey Lance trade in reverse. So,
yeah,
they needed. And look, it was a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. And at the time, it was a risk because if you look at the amount of games McCaffrey had missed at that position, where people can decline quickly, and he played a lot of snaps, a lot of people thought, "Wow, that's a lot to give up for a guy who may not be on the field." And of course, he has been incredibly durable, and God, what a fit in that offense. I talked about Deebo Samuel's multi-positionality. Well, McCaffrey has that too. Yushik as well. It just allows Kyle Shanahan to scheme it up that much more. And so, he has been everything they could have dreamed. He may be more valuable in that offense than he would be anywhere else, and he'd still be valuable. And they smartly took care of his contract situation very quietly and very proactively, and just got it done. So Kyle Shanahan could go to his wedding without any awkwardness, other than Kyle's mustache at the time. Might have been a little awkward. I respect it, by the way. It's really, Mandy Shanahan has the only opinion that matters, but if anyone's asking me, I did not mind the stash. But, look, I think in retrospect, since they've been talking about this with Trent Williams clearly for the last few months, they could have taken a similar approach with him. If you look at what he makes relative to other tackles and how they've played without him, not very well. Who his backup is, the guy named Jalen Moore. No offense to Jalen Moore, but I don't think he'd be starting for any other team. And what is on the line this season, as we discussed, you've got to get him done and you got to get him in. And, Christian Darrisaw just signed a monster deal for the Vikings. I don't think there's anybody on earth who would tell you that Christian Darrisaw would be preferable to Trent Williams, at least for the coming season. Trent Williams, obviously, at 36, not going to do this forever. But if you are in a season where you think your window's shrinking and you got to get after it now, you need to get Trent Williams done, and you need to do it soon.
He not only is a renowned columnist for the San Francisco Chronicle, but he also is an author. The Why is Everything. It's available for pre-order, and it's going to be available to you on October 1st. Mike, can you tell us about this? I find the title inspirational from the beginning, and I got to tell you, like X, the social media platform, is going in a lot of self-help kind of ways. I always click on that stuff. I always find it, and I'm fascinated to hear more about your book and giving it a read when I get the chance. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I think you're really going to like it. So it's really about that Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniel, Raheem Morris cadre of coaches, all of whom were assistants on that Mike Shanahan staff in Washington in the early 2010s, and how they've changed the game and how they're doing things differently than they've been done in the past, throwing out a lot of the old models. And, of course, there's a lot of intersectionality, rivalry, pettiness, et cetera, between them. So we kind of start with Mike Shanahan resurrecting his career as the 49ers offensive coordinator starting in 1992 and taking Steve Young from transcendent talent to first ballot Hall of Famer, getting the outside zone merged with the West Coast offense when he took that Broncos job, and then we take it to Washington with the RG3 experiment and all the really cool things that have happened since then in San Francisco, in LA, in Green Bay, in Miami, and now in Atlanta with Raheem Morris, who I think is going to be a fantastic head coach the second time around. He was the Bucs coach way back when as a very young guy. So I'm really pumped about this. I know everyone's going to love it. Even people who aren't hardcore football fans, I think, are going to embrace it because it's a cool way of understanding the game, what we're seeing, and how it has changed and is changing. And by the way, you'll learn a lot of things that make you go, wow. And I think everyone will be as stoked as I am. So wish I could get everyone an advanced copy. But yeah, the pre-order link's all over all my social media bios, and it's The Why is Everything. And I'm really psyched about it.
Really a fascinating look at the inner workings behind the building of one of the best franchises in sports, the San Francisco 49ers, and all that has been encompassed there. Really, really fascinating stuff. Michael Silver is his name on X. He's at Mike Silver is where you can get to him. Really enjoyed the chat, Mike. Thank you so much. Best of luck with the book. Can't wait to get my hands on it, man.
All right, Mark, I appreciate you. I'll get you an advanced copy one way or the other, so thank you.
I would love that, man. I would love that. Thank you so very much. Mike Silver is the name, and the book out October 1st. San Francisco, man, let me tell you, really fascinating stuff going on. Do they have too many distractions to win it all this year? Christian McCaffrey done, but Brock Purdy is out there. Brendan Ayuk is out there. Trent Williams is out there. Deebo Samuel's health questions are out there. Are there too many of those question marks for them to put it all together? I worry that the answer might be yes. Up next, an unconscionable decision by the National Basketball Association. My name is Marc Ryan, in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show, here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
Marc Ryan in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show here on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to have you guys with us. Here's how you can be a part of the show. You can give us a call at 855-212-4227. That's 855-212-4227. On X at INF Sportsnet. Invite you to get to me on X at Marc Ryan on air. That's at MARC Ryan on air. Tweet the show. We'll get to your tweets live and on the air. Guys, this to me is an apoplectic end of times kind of situation. And look, guys, I try to usually look at the rundown for the show, and I try to say to myself, okay, I want an even mix of positive topics and negative topics, right? Topics where I'm ranting and topics where I'm hyping something or speaking on something good. I have a really hard time doing that today because I am so deeply upset at the reality that TNT has lost the NBA. And you know what, guys? You can point the finger of blame at a number of places, but I'm looking first at the National Basketball Association. You've got, and it shows you that really, billion-dollar entities are no different than kids. The TNT is saying we have a right to match the offer that Amazon made. We did match the offer, and we didn't get to keep the NBA. And the NBA is saying the following. Warner Brothers Discoveries, that's TNT, most recent proposal did not match the terms of Amazon Prime's video offer, and therefore we have entered into a long-term arrangement with Amazon. So TNT is saying they match the Amazon offer. The NBA is saying you did not match the Amazon offer, and now TNT does not have the NBA. And certainly, guys, wherever there is beef, there are two sides to blame. And I'm not saying there isn't. But what I am saying is shame on the entirety, that is the NBA, for allowing this and just assuming. You know what they say about people who assume. They make an ass out of you and me. Assuming that we're just going to go hook, line, and sinker to wherever the NBA is. That show, Inside the NBA, is the single best studio show that has ever existed in sports. You have Shaq. You have Ernie Johnson. You have Kenny Smith. You have Charles Barkley. If I were to ask you what makes that show what it is, what would you say? How would you answer that? 855-212-4227. That's 855-212-4227. It's fascinating to me. And what's interesting is I was talking to Stu Kovacs about this before the show. We've got so many people in our industry who take themselves too seriously. And for the longest time in this business, I was trying to have the perfect show. I couldn't even have a perfect segment, and yet I was trying to have the perfect show. And it took me a long time to realize that the imperfections make a show perfect. And when you've got guys that are worth 9 figures, that have 9 figures in their bank account, that's hundreds of millions of dollars, and none of them are beyond reproach. All of them are able to be poked at, made fun of, etc. None of them are free from that. It draws us in, man. It makes them one of us. And that's something those guys, as much money as they make, felt so ordinary and human and real and fun, and the laughs never ended. Guys, unfortunately, here's where we are with the NBA. If you're an NBA fan, and I'm raising my hand, guilty as charged, I am one, you've got to not sign on to these new ventures. You've got to tune off, turn away from the NBA on NBC, despite the fact that it's going to bring back one of the best intro songs ever, John Tesh's NBA intro. You got to turn away from Amazon. Okay? Do you realize that if you wanted to watch every single game in the NFL this year, do you know how much it would cost you? Over $2,000 from beginning of the season to the end because of all the different networks that the NFL is in bed with right now. When does it end for us? I was reading this the other day. The average American has 26 different subscriptions. You know how many I have? 6. They don't get me. I know that they get you by saying, oh, it's only $7.99 a month. But you sign up for enough of those $7.99 a month, you have nothing left a month in your bank account, right? So I'm not doing it. You're not getting me hook, line, and sinker. You get rid of you get rid of Inside the NBA on TNT. I get rid of you. So, look, I am Tom Cruise in the movie Jerry Maguire. I'm holding up the goldfish in the air, and I'm saying, who's coming with me? Because you're going to have to shun the NBA for doing this. And I'm not saying TNT is without blame. They have said in the past they don't need the NBA. Okay, really? Like how many old, outdated sitcoms or dramas can you run? How many episodes of Law and Order, to quote Charles Barkley, can you run? They're not without blame here. But the fact that they tried to make it work and the NBA chose the bottom line over their most valuable property, in my opinion, which is the Inside the NBA on TNT, shame on them. So my question to you is, are you willing to walk away from the NBA until they get it right? The NBA is betting you're going to find them anywhere. And there's a level of arrogance to that really, really burns my brownies, man. Really does. They say in their statement that we look forward to, quote, another season of the NBA on TNT. they don't say the words last. And they did that on purpose. This is the last season of the NBA on TNT, of Inside the NBA. It's the last season of it. Charles Barkley has already announced he's retiring after this year. And he strikes me as a bloke, once he makes his decision, there's no talking him out of it. We thought today we might bring you into some of our favorite moments from inside the NBA and the history of this show. And guys, it really is incredible, like what they've been able to do. It really is incredible. Before we get to that, this portion of the show is sponsored by the all-new Hyundai 2024 Santa Fe, equipped for adventure with capable features like available H-Track all-wheel drive and standard third-row seating. It is brought to you by Hyundai. So, guys, I was thinking about this, and there's so many moments. There's so many times where I've been hook, line, and sinker watching this show, totally invested, and I care about the show more than I care about the game, whatever game they're carrying, right? And so this is what's fascinating to me. They find humor out of nowhere. They bring off-air conversations on the air, and no one gets offended, no one gets upset. Let's begin with one of my favorite. It happened just this offseason where the New Orleans Pelicans, now mind you, they were exactly one game behind the Dallas Mavericks in the standings. 49 wins to Dallas's 50. Dallas went to the NBA Finals, and New Orleans was swept. All right, one game behind them. Here's Charles Barkley telling you where New Orleans can spend their offseason.
Disappointed in New Orleans. Where they going, Chuck? Galveston? That dirty ass water. We're not even gonna send them to Cancun. We're gonna send them to Galveston where that dirty ass water be washing up on the shore. You people think they're in the beach. Y'all located. We y'all gonna send y'all to Cancun. Y'all drive y'all quit. Drive your ass down to Galveston. Come on, man.
So they're not taking a little.
Come on, they don't even try, man. No, we're not getting them no plane ticket to the beach. We send their ass to Galveston, Texas, right where that dirty water washed up on the beach. They can't even get in the water. Come on, man.
You know what's funny about that is the guys on the show, Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith and stuff, they do like a mockery of a team huddle when a team gets eliminated. And they say 1, 2, 3, Cancun. So they're sending you to Cancun. And Chuck was so disappointed in New Orleans' performance, he says, we're not even going to send you to Cancun. We're going to send you to Galveston. Okay? Galveston. And look, man, I'm a native Houstonian. It pains me to say that Charles Barkley is right. There's no way for them to clean up that muddy water. There's no way. It's the closest thing to a beach you got, man. And it's just kind of the gnarliest water you've ever seen. And so that's what makes Charles Barkley's mention so hilarious. Stu Kovacs, one of your favorite NBA on TNT moments. What do you got for me, man?
So mine is a little more visual than yours, but I think a lot of people who have watched the show will remember this. It was around Christmas time. And obviously Kenny Smith always tries to run up to his big board. So this was Kenny Smith and Shaq both at the same time running up to the big board. Kenny basically body checking Shaq into a Christmas tree, which topples over.
Get people. See, here he is. Okay, Kenny. All right, Kenny. It's an accident. All right, Kenny. All right, Kenny. All right, yeah, this means war. That was an accident, man. This means war. That was an accident. I didn't think you was trying to box me out. I was trying to move out the way. This means war. Well, okay. It was. All right. Why'd you try to box me out? Yeah, look at that. Why'd you try to box me out? Harry. Why'd you try to box me out?
And Shaq was just so mad, but it's that perfect combination of him being mad, but it's a playfulness that just makes the show work. And with all four of those guys, it's just the perfect mix.
Yeah, you know what, man? That would make me lose sleep if I'm Kenny Smith, for Shaq to say, okay, Kenny, okay. Because you know as well as I do what is coming. And have you seen Shaq get mad? He'll fight anybody, you know? And to have Shaq coming after me, if I'm Kenny Smith and I'm small fry like that, I know that somehow Shaq's size is going to be used to make me a human sardine. And I'm terrified of that. And so, okay, Kenny is all I need to hear to quit the show, never to return. I'm not getting a good night's sleep ever again. And that's exactly what happened. But Shaquille O'Neal, our last moment here, had this is hilarious. This is some kind of epic level brain fart. Okay, now I want to bring you into this. Okay, Kenny Smith off stage, off camera, was telling Shaquille O'Neal that, look, man, he doesn't like getting ripped off. Who among us like getting ripped off? The other day, in Stu Kovacs, I want you to explain this to me. I was at the day before last, I was at a bistro in LaGuardia Airport, okay? And I had to spend $16 for a wrap that was smaller than my hand. And it was like a turkey Swiss wrap. $16 at like a Cisco Express or something in the LaGuardia Airport. What are we doing here? I do not like being extorted. I do not like having my coconuts cracked. And that's exactly what happened inside LaGuardia the other day. Well, Kenny was talking about how he doesn't like to be extorted for gas and he wants to buy this car, but gas is going to cost him $80. And Shaq is totally off of his gourd here, doesn't know what he's talking about, is trying to talk some sense into Kenny by saying, no, you don't need to spend $80. If you let it go down a quarter, you simply spend $20 and it fills it back up. And Kenny's like, well, then I got to go stop 4 times a week. And Shaq doesn't seem to understand that he's not, his math isn't mathing. He doesn't seem to understand that. No, he keeps saying, no, you don't. No, you just spend $20 when it's at 3 quarters, it gets it back to full. And Kenny's like, well, I got to go back 4 times a week. My friends, we back out of the way. Here is that exchange for you.
If you let it get to 0, right, Monday through Friday, right, then you got to pay $80 to fill it back up.
Right.
Okay, but if you let it get to half by Wednesday, then you pay $20.
No, it won't get to half by. Right, but if Wednesday it's going to be 40, and then on Friday it'll be 40.
Not 40, 20. Yeah. It's going to be 20.
No.
It's going to be 20.
Not half. Half of 80 is 40.
But no, listen to what I'm saying.
I am.
Okay.
So if I every day, if I did,
no, you ain't gonna have to put gas in every day. Don't play me right now.
I'm not playing.
Don't play with me right now.
I'm sorry. Like, I really want to know because Ernie, I want to get this car, but I really want to save gas money.
You're complaining.
Tell me. I want to know how I'm gonna save gas money.
You're complaining about the $80.
Yes.
Right. So
I'm complaining.
Okay. So at 0 is 80.
No question.
So, right, at full is 80, right?
Yes.
So if it gets to half, that'll be 40, right?
No question about it.
So if you put 20 in, then you bring it back up to 3 quarters. Right?
No, if I put 20 in, it'll get to 1 quarter. Jeez, yeah.
But it'll be 3 quarters. It'll be 3 quarters full.
3 quarters empty.
No, 3 quarters full.
But who's on first?
This.
Yeah.
You know what?
How does Shaq not get that? Like, that is so hilarious that he doesn't like, it shows you that Shaq tricks himself every week into believing that he's stopping less for gas when in reality he's stopping more. But who's on first? Guys, it's the greatest studio show that's ever existed, and the NBA is allowing it to be flushed away, and we have fun with it. But the only solution is to boycott the new NBA ventures. Don't watch the NBA on Amazon. Don't watch the NBA on NBC. Hit them where it hurts, in their wallets. Up next, something Major League Baseball does better than any other sport. My name is Marc Ryan, in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Now it's time for a sports update with Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Mark, Cowboys training camp opening up. Lots of questions about where all the dollars are going to go. CeeDee Lamb's a holdout. Micah Parsons wants a new deal. Dak Prescott on the final year of his contract. Jerry Jones giving an analogy on how he's evaluating this situation.
We're buying time. We're option quarterbacking, and we're going on out toward the sideline, and we haven't handed it off. We haven't pitched it. We're trying to make our mind up what to do. Does that sound like Mahomes to you? A little bit? Okay. It do. It really do.
Elsewhere, tight calf has held Russell Wilson out of his first practice with the Steelers. Justin Fields getting all the work with the first team. Checking baseball, you got the Rangers in front of the White Sox 2-1. They're in the 8th. You got the Rays in front of the Blue Jays 3-0. They're in the 6th. Dodgers holding a 1-0 advantage on the Giants. That's bottom 2. finals. Dylan Cease, his first career no-hitter, just the second in Padres history, joining Joe Musgrove in 2021 as the Padres shut down the Nationals 3-0. Cease struck out 9, walked 3, 114 pitches. Meanwhile, the Orioles coughed up a 6-run lead, but able to still outlast the Marlins 7-6-10. Colton Cowser homer drove in 3. The Tigers, they blanked the Guardians 3-0. And A's closer Mason Miller fractured his left pinky, punching a padded table in the training room. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
Marc Ryan here in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. All right, my friends. So there is something to me that Major League Baseball is doing far better than any other sport. All right? And that is having a fair and balanced playing field for all teams. Whoa, Marc Ryan. What are you smoking, sir? What are you even talking about? Well, hear me out. You befriend certain media people in this business, and Matt Snyder, CBS Sports baseball insider and writer, is one of my favorite guys. Okay, and Matt Snyder has an article out that's all about how small market and mid-market teams do not have an excuse for not winning the World Series. And it's interesting, it's fascinating, and we have a clip on that we're going to share with you here momentarily. Okay? But, if you go back, and I went back and I looked and I said, does Matt have a point? I looked at the last 50 years of World Series winners. And so he breaks up the teams, 30 teams, into 10 large market teams, 10 middle market teams, and 10 small market teams. The large market teams are as follows: Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Angels, Cubs, White Sox, Phillies, Rangers, Braves, and Red Sox. Okay, that name came out weird. Red Sox. I can't seem to say it any other way. But those are the 10 large market teams. In the last 50 years, the large markets have won, wait for it, 23 World Series championships. That means that they're only winning the World Series 46% of the time. Oh, but the media will let you know that it's only the Yankees and only the Dodgers that are winning this thing, man. Those are the only ones. It's not at all the case. Last 50 years, the New York Yankees have 7. That's more than anyone else. But, guys, that's 14% of the time the Yankees are winning the World Series. Once in the last 50 years, the Mets have won the World Series. So 16% of the time, the city of New York wins the World Series. Let's add L.A. to that. 3 for the Dodgers, 1 for the Angels. That's 12 of the last 50 years. L.A. and New York has won the World Series. That's 24% of the time. The nature of baseball is that the best team wins 60% of the time and the worst team wins 40% of the time. In the last 50 years, middle market teams have won 14 World Series titles. Small market teams have won 13 World Series titles. So, yeah, you have a better shot if you are a big market team, but it is far from an open and shut case. All right? Last 50 years, 54% of all World Series titles have been won by middle market and small market teams. The Blue Jays have 2, Astros have 2, Giants have 2, A's have 2, Twins have 2, Marlins have 2, St. Louis Cardinals have 4, Cincinnati Reds have 4. And you want to know why small market owners hate the St. Louis Cardinals? Because the Cardinals kill their excuse. St. Louis in Major League Baseball is as small market as it gets, all right? Isn't it something that you never hear that BS in other sports? Like you never hear Green Bay say, we can't expect to win the Super Bowl because we're the smallest market team. You don't even think about Green Bay lacking finances, right? Well, I was talking to Matt Snyder about this, and he told me that he's not a proponent of a salary cap, but he is a proponent of a salary floor where you've got to spend at least a minimum amount of money because it prevents greedy owners from doing greedy owner things. If you were to ask me who are the worst and dumbest all-time fans in sports, I would answer that by telling you Chicago Cubs fans of the 1980s. Why? The Cubbies are lovable. To hate the Cubs is to hate puppies. Who does that? I don't hate them. I just think the fans weren't very smart in the 80s. Why? Because they sold out Wrigley Field rain or shine. Their owner, cheap as he was, saw no incentive to put money back in the team. Do I want $100 million profit a year or do I want $20 million profit a year? If I put money back into the team, I lose the profit. They're selling out the stadium anyway. If you're selling out a pizza parlor, why do they need to put more money into the food? You're selling it out anyway, right? As a businessman, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So that what you do, if you have an owner who is complacent and greedy, you stop going to the games. You hit them where it hurts. You hit them in their wallets. So why, in fact, do small market owners not have any defense for not winning the World Series? Here is Matt Snyder, who joined me on my Saturday show, right here on the all-new Infinity Sports Network.
It's definitely easier for the Dodgers and Yankees to put winners on the field, and nobody would dispute that. But the way the baseball system is set up, you have players for 6 years once they get to the majors. There are arbitration years, and yes, the players get more expensive as they get into the arbitration years, but that's only for the top reaches of those kinds of studs. And we've also seen players like Joey Votto sign career-long extensions to stay in places like Cincinnati if you want to hold on to a guy like that. And it's also, we've seen teams who smartly build and try to hit that window and have everybody line up. But it's all about how well run the front office is, but it's also the money. So many of these owners, and I think that so many fans don't realize it, but we are coming around. I think that we've gotten a bigger and bigger contingent of baseball fandom who realizes this and kind of hates on the owners. They're just pocketing. They're getting all this money in revenue sharing. Major League Baseball has made so much money from that BAMTech sale, which involved Disney, and they passed all that money back to a bunch of small market teams, and you never hear anything from teams like the Pirates ownership crying about how they're poor and they don't have enough money. Yes, they do. They have enough money. They could spend more. So again, I'm not saying something like the Marlins should be able to be as good as the Phillies year in, year out. Not necessarily, but there are years that they should be better. There are years that you can line up everything. And with the development system that baseball has, it's not like basketball where there's only a few guys that can move the needle and you can't afford those guys if you're in certain markets. It's not like that at all. You have a 26-man roster. You have a ton of pitchers. You have a minor league system that has 6 different levels. There are so many layers to it that it is not just as simple as if you spend the most, you're going to win. That's just not the case.
And we continue to see that if you spend the most, you're not going to win. Guys, the following is true. 10 of the last 12 World Series winners had top 10 payrolls. But this is also true, okay? The number one payroll in baseball misses the postseason more often than it wins the World Series. So, like as we approach the trade deadline here, and as Tarek Skubal is thought to perhaps be available, and Lewis Robert Jr. and Jazz Chisholm are reported to be available, Isak Paredes, Randy Arozarena projected to be available. Hold your team and hold your market accountable, because you're hearing from the very top of the sport that all of these owners have plenty of money to spend to make their team competitive. And this whole crying poor nonsense doesn't work. I'll never forget this, guys. The owner of the Tampa Bay Rays told me on the field, I said, man, why don't you put more money into the team? And he said to me, you want bottom of the league payroll, give me bottom of the league attendance. You want middle of the pack payroll, give me middle of the pack attendance. You want top of the league payroll, give me top of the league attendance. And I said, that is totally backwards to what Field of Dreams taught us. If you build it, they will come. Not they will come and then you build it. All right? You're backwards in the assessment here. That is not at all how it works. All right. We're going to talk some NFL with Jarrett Bell, who joins us next on the show. Exactly how much is a Hawk Tua Tagovailoa worth to the Dolphins? My name is Marc Ryan, in for Zach Gelb on the all-new Zach Gelb Show here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
It's the Zach Gelb Show here on the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Marc Ryan in for Zach, rolling on until 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. Here's how you can be a part of the show in this hour. You can give us a call at 855-212-4227. That's 855-212-4227. On Twitter, on X, at INF Sportsnet. You can get to me there at Marc Ryan on Air. That's at MARC Ryan on Air. You will see tweet to the show. We'll get to your tweets live and on the air. Facebook.com/INF Sportsnet and listen live. InfinitySportsNet.com. Guys, look, it's fascinating because our next guest hails from the D, Detroit. I have lived in the D for the last 4 months. Moved here 4 months ago. I am new to the D, and there was a really interesting occurrence that happened yesterday. The Tigers lost a game that was considered to be kind of must-win with the trade deadline approaching. Are they going to be buyers or sellers? In the same day that the Lions were beginning training camp. And I opened my local show on 97.1 The Ticket last night by asking, is this the day where the torch is passed from season to season? From Major League Baseball to the National Football League. It sure felt that way here in the D. So much to talk about, so little time, such burning training camp questions. Joining us now, a Detroit native himself, Jarrett Bell, on Twitter by the same name, 2 R's, 2 T's, 2 L's in Bell, NFL columnist for USA Today Sports. Longtime reader, first time speaking, Jarrett. Good to meet you, sir. Thanks so much for the time. How are you?
Oh, man, Mark, the pleasure's mine. Thanks for that great introduction. Being from the D, exactly. And, yeah, you are about to witness, some real fandom and some real love for the Lions. They'll be good again. I don't know if this will be, obviously, getting to the championship game last year, raised the expectations. It showed that, hey, this is possible. So, yeah, strap it on up, man. It's gonna be quite a ride.
That's awesome. Awesome stuff indeed. Jarrett Bell joining us. Jarrett, you're at Falcons camp today. And, I got to be honest with you, Jarrett. I love the Michael Penix pick. I might be the only one. I saw him play at Washington. The word was that he was climbing up the draft boards. And you got kind of 2 injury-prone guys. The Falcons had the worst quarterback room in the league last year. Why wouldn't you draft the successor for Kirk Cousins? It made a lot of sense to me.
Oh, yeah, it did. And I wrote that on draft night, to tell you the truth. So there were 2 of us, Mark. You and me saying, okay, that was a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
Because you can't have enough quarterbacks. There's nothing wrong with having a succession plan. Look at Jordan Love. And a generation ago, Aaron Rodgers getting drafted when they had Brett Favre. And so I think it was a smart move, especially when you think about what you have to invest in a first-round pick in the grand scheme of, money management. yeah, they paid a ton of money for Kirk Cousins, but it's NFL money. It's funny money. It's going to go, that salary cap's going to go up again. That bar for quarterbacks and the money that the top ones get, that's going to go up. And so, yeah, you made that investment, and then you got your future. And so I think the question now, and I talked to Raheem Morris about it, and he's well aware that everybody is going to be asking about whether Penix is pushing Cousins, and that's not their plan at all. I think the only way we see Michael Penix on the field this year is if there's an injury to Kirk Cousins. But, you know, strange things happen. I mean, what happens if Kirk Cousins, who, by the way, got cleared medically to fully participate in training camp, and he was very upbeat today. They're still going to be cautious with him and how they use him. But the point being, you know, we're coming off a season, Mark, where there were more quarterbacks who started games for NFL teams than at any point in NFL history because of the injuries, right? Ask Joe Flacco about that. But, so I think it's definitely going to be something to watch develop, not only this year, but, you know, for the next couple years.
We've got Jared Bell, USA Today sports NFL writer, joining us here on the Zach Gelb Show. Marc Ryan sitting in the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Jared, I don't see a way that Dallas has a successful season with the entire mess that they have, lack of a reliable running back. Dak's contract questions, his play in the postseason always seems to require the Heimlich maneuver when it matters most. CeeDee Lamb looking at the dearth of weapons that the Cowboys possess and saying, show me the money. How are they going to put this all together in a short period of time to be better than they were a season ago?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's going to be a hard answer for the Cowboys to come up with. You know, Dak Prescott had a phenomenal season until we got to the playoffs, of course, last year under Mike McCarthy. And, you know, McCarthy took over the offense, and they did some things with Dak, and it really worked for them until they got to the playoffs, of course. So I know they're banking on that. The fact that neither McCarthy or Dak has a contract that extends beyond this year is something that they can still work through, but they just don't have the cap room. And then you got CeeDee Lamb. Oh, by the way, Micah Parsons, who's good for this year, but they've got to do a new deal with him as well. And so their salary cap can't go up fast enough for the Cowboys. That's kind of been one of the things that they've done, and they've done it well, relatively speaking, is that they've been able to keep the players that they wanted and be competitive, not this year in free agency, but over recent years, they've been able to make their money moves, but they did it by borrowing against the future. And now this is a situation where, you know, the bill is due, right? And there's not much more room for them to manipulate and to restructure things and the float money where they can sign some of these big guys. I mean, I guess there's still some possibilities, but it definitely is a whole lot more challenging than it has been, especially when you're talking about Dak Prescott and what he is going to command, even as a quarterback who's not had playoff success, but the market rate. So I think that's the big deal for them. And, yeah, you got to have CeeDee Lamb. You know, so you got to figure out a way to get something done with him to make him happy. So, yeah, it's a mess, you know, and Jerry Jones has had some other things on his plate as well in his personal life with the legal entanglement with his alleged, or I will say assumed, daughter from an extramarital affair.
Right. Jared Bell joining us, USA Today sports writer, NFL writer, here on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. There's a stat, Jarrett, that I absolutely love. The only quarterback that has overcome this number, no QB has won a Super Bowl making 13% or more of his team's salary cap except for Patrick Mahomes. But now, anytime there's a new deal to be had, the starting number seems to be 5-0 for any halfway decent quarterback to get a new deal. So I don't know how long that statistic is going to live with that being the case. That said, we know Jordan Love isn't practicing for the Green Bay Packers. We know Tua Tagovailoa has a contract situation. Between those two, they each have their question marks. Jordan Love has an exceedingly small body of work. Tua Tagovailoa often lacks the best ability, which is availability. Who would you feel most comfortable giving a big deal to between those two?
Oh, I'd give it to Jordan Love if it was me making that decision. And I think part of it is just the eyeball test. I mean, I see Jordan Love, and I like what I see a lot more than when I watch Tua. I don't always know what I'm going to get with Tua. And, both those guys benefit from having great coaching, which, any quarterback coming into the NFL trying to be successful, that's what you need to have. So that won't be the thing. But this stuff is so market driven. That's why, your point about Patrick Mahomes, when he got the $50 million, a couple, 3 years ago, it was kind of like, wow, that's a big number, but if anybody deserves it, it's him. And now, that number is, needed
commonplace.
To be adjusted. Yeah. So we'll see.
Most certainly the case.
Yeah, Jordan Love, I think, is the guy, especially when you think that, last year was just his first year as a starter. And so you know that's your guy you're going to move forward with. Tua, they've had a little bit more time to figure out what they have and how they're going to – and they've been successful to a degree, but, of course, not to the degree where you want to say, okay, there are no questions. We can win Super Bowls with this guy.
Speaking of quarterbacks and questions, Lamar Jackson leaves practice early. And, the doubts continue about him despite the MVPs, as many MVPs as they have playoff wins. What gets the Ravens to the next step? What does Lamar have to do to get them there?
Yeah, and like all of us, we love Lamar, right? We love watching this guy. We've seen him grow in the NFL and prove the doubters, especially the one doubter, Bill Polian, bless his heart, wrong about his, projection coming into the NFL. And like you said, he's won multiple MVPs. Now, I wouldn't go as far as John Harbaugh did and say that he's going to go down as the greatest quarterback ever. I mean, you could say he's going to be one of the greatest QBs ever, and you're okay, right? But anyway, that being said, they had everything set up the way you would want it last season, right? You get the number one seed, and you're at home, and you have a chance to win the game against the Chiefs. So what Lamar has to do is be his best guy to carry his team when they need it the most, and that's in the playoffs, right? And the one criticism I had from watching that loss to Kansas City, or actually with two, but the one of Lamar was that I just didn't think he ran enough. Now here, there's always a debate about, okay, quarterback, pocket passer, is he a thrower, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's all of that. But he can also run like Tony Dorsett or Barry Sanders, right? So it's kind of like when you really need it, go with your package. And I thought he was just a bit too conservative for my liking in the playoff loss to Kansas City when everything's on the line. Okay, I can see if it's week 6 and week 10 and, you're just trying to win a division game. But when the Super Bowl is on the line, you just kind of have to go with everything you can. So that would be my one criticism of Lamar from how it ended up last year. So what do you need to do to make that go away and go to the next level? Well, like I said, you've got to do it in the clutch. Now, the loss wasn't all on him. We know that because they had stupid penalties one after another. They had, an inglorious turnover at the goal line, that sort of thing. But the other thing that I did not like about the Ravens, and I followed them like all of us really, but it seemed like the Chiefs got in their heads early, right? And I think Travis Kelce gets a lot of credit for that because the pregame warm-up started, and, he's messing with the kicker and, practicing in their ends, stretching in their side of the field, all the stuff you do to annoy an opponent. Reminded me of Warren Sapp years ago. He got fined by the NFL for, skipping through his opponent's stretch line and stuff like that. But, when that happened and there was, this pregame skirmish, I was like, uh-oh, the Ravens might be in trouble because the Chiefs, we're going to pull every trick we can out of the WWE to, give us some kind of edge. And, I don't know if that was the difference in the game, but it was definitely a sign that the Ravens were going to have to really be at their best on a lot of levels to beat the Chiefs.
You got it. Jarrett Bell, 2 minutes left. Got two questions for you. Jarrett, you wrote a column about Bill Belichick and how odd it is to not see him coaching. And whenever I see anything about Bill Belichick today, it's about him living his best life with his 23-year-old girlfriend. Do you feel like he feels an impetus after what went down with the Atlanta Falcons to ultimately get back into this thing, or is he now successfully ridden off into the sunset?
No, I think he wants to get back, and I've been told that by someone very close to him. And I wrote the column and saying, it was weird that he's not on the sideline 24 years with the Patriots, and you go back to 1975 when he first broke into the NFL. But no, I think he still wants to do it, and he's going to have to prove a few things before someone hands him over the keys. And I think the big thing is really going to be, can he coexist with somebody that may have a personnel department in place and a strong GM in place, and that he can just coach the team and let someone else run the personnel side. You think back to his early years in New England, and they did a phenomenal job with personnel and draft. And think about those, Super Bowl winners they had, in the 2000s and stuff, and all those homegrown guys, they brought in a couple free agents here and there, obviously, but, they just did a phenomenal job. Well, Scott Pioli was running the personnel department then. Even though Belichick had the power, was the de facto GM, he really had a strong personnel crew around him. And so I think that hurt him over time. I don't think he could flip the switch and it turned on a dime in 1 year, but, it gradually just eroded, and then his decisions, to that end and whatever was going on in that building, I think that got him. So I know it's a long answer, but moving forward, I think that's the thing. He's going to have to be able to convince an NFL owner that, he's willing to work and coexist with someone that maybe the owner feels is good enough for what they need to do to win big with their personnel.
Jarrett Bell joining us. Jarrett, your Twitter bio reads, raised in the D, but somehow not discovered by Motown. Michigan State alum Dig Sparty. Now, Jarrett, I got to hear a little bit about that, and I've been here 4 months. I landed an unbelievable opportunity with one of the top sports stations in America. 97 won the ticket. And I'm elated. Thank you so much, Jarrett. I appreciate it. Congrats on your success as well. Do you have any advice for me on surviving it? Thus far, Jarrett, love the people here, love the vibe. I will tell you what has struck me a little bit odd is that I get hell every time I mispronounce anything. Like I'm supposed to inherently know what everything is called and how to say everything, and like I've lived here my entire life, and shame on me for not knowing that Mackinac is not pronounced Mackinac, right? How am I supposed to know that if I've never been here before in my life? They act like I'm supposed to intuitively have this knowledge already. What would be your advice for me for not only surviving but thriving in the D?
Yeah, be humble, right? Ask people to help you and listen well. But yeah, that's funny. You think about the history of Detroit, and it was an old, fort, and the French were there, so there's a lot of that history that is embedded in the names of and some of the places there. So there's that. But I think you just tell them that you love Dan Campbell. And I think that'll be an icebreaker for you because, that guy is so popular in Detroit. So hey, sidle up to Dan Campbell. I think that will help you. But yeah, man, good luck with that. I think you'll be okay. And you got to get to the Motown Museum. So I mentioned it on my Twitter bio, and I grew up on that side of town, the west side of town, not too far from Motown. So the old house that Berry Gordy had, where they started the record company, it's still there. It's in great shape. You got to go do a tour there. Diana Ross and the Supremes were, from just up the road. And I mean, there's just so much musical history there, connected to Motown that I think, you just you'll do yourself well to be steeped in some Motown knowledge, man. That would be good.
Great to talk to you, Jared. I truly appreciate the time, man, and thanks for the conversation, the insight, and the knowledge. Jared Bell, USA Today Sports. Jared, have a great week.
Okay, Mark, I'll tell my nephew to listen for you. He listens to 97.1, so he's a big fan, big sports talk radio guy. So I will mention to him that we talked and have him listen.
Means a lot, Jared. Thank you so much, my friend. Jared Bell, USA Today NFL columnist, joining us here on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Yeah, guys, it's the weirdest thing here, and it's awesome, and the people here are amazing, and as you guys know, the people make the place. It's people want you to know, people want you to think that Detroit is still the same Detroit that it was 30, 40 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, and it's not, and it's beautiful, and I'm taking it upon myself to help create that change and to help re-educate people as to what's happened here and the rebirth and the renaissance of this area. Michigan as a state is one of the 10 most beautiful states in the country. Okay, and it's been an unbelievable experience to be here. This station, 97 won the ticket here. I get fan mail at the station. Can you believe that? Like fan mail. And I got another piece of fan mail yesterday, and it's like. I've never experienced this before, so it's I'm like, does this have anthrax in it? Do I open this mail, or should I have should I send this piece of mail to the FBI? But no, man, you just get mail with nice things, and people send you ideas and how much they like the show and all this other stuff. It's been really, really cool, man. It has been a dream. Well, I'll tell you what, the dream comes to an end in the next segment, and that's because my number one on the list of the most famous athletes of America will be disputed by all of you, but also should be adopted by you immediately. My name is Mark Ryan. Great to be with you on the Zach Gelb Show on the all-new Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
Marc Ryan here with you, in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Wonderful to have you guys with us. Feel free to give us a ring if you'd like at 855-212-4227. That's 855-212-4227. So, look, guys, I tend to be a nerd. The irony with me is I failed statistics in college. And I kept taking it, and I kept failing it. It was the first course in my life where it didn't matter how hard I tried. Like, I don't understand it. I couldn't get into it. And it really upset me, right? It burned my brownies because, I love sports statistics. And I love, lists and ranking things and doing all that stuff. And I stumbled upon a list recently that had me come up with one of my own. But I couldn't dispute their number one. And it was most famous athletes in America. And I thought about this because, LeBron James and his trek to becoming the first billion-dollar net worth athlete in American sports history certainly vaults him very, very highly. But he is not even close to the most famous athlete in America today. Do you know who that is? You might not know. There are some people listening right now. I'm going to give you that answer. You've got no clue. You have no idea who it is, okay? The answer, number one, is Lionel Messi, and it isn't even close, all right? Now, Lionel Messi is the most famous athlete in America, and his social media profile is massive, it's worldwide, and it's immense. And you would say, Mark, well, that doesn't make him the most famous athlete here. Well, you're wrong, because he plays here, is followed everywhere he goes, and has a more passionate following than any athlete who hails from here. Lionel Messi is currently the most famous athlete in America, and if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Now, number 2, we're still classifying him as an athlete, is Michael Jordan. Okay? Michael Jordan, the Air Jordan brand, just opened a medical facility in his hometown of Williamston, North Carolina. And his brand, and the fact that he's somewhat elusive and somewhat mysterious and no one can track him down, and the power of that logo, the Jordan brand, as an athlete, still makes him insurmountable to just about everybody. You know, one of the coolest things in a recruiting tool to go play at my alma mater, the University of Florida, is that they wear the Jordan brand. I've got LeBron James, number 3, first billion-dollar athlete in America. I've got Shohei Ohtani, 4th. You consider his level of fame in Los Angeles. You don't get to see him much on the East Coast, all right, but you know enough about him. He's as close to a transformer, a robot playing baseball that I've ever seen. He's just too good for his own good. And, you know, if you're willing to pay him $70 million a year when the next best players get paid $35 million a year, that speaks to his power. I've got Shohei Ohtani, number 4. The most popular sport in America only has the 5th most popular athlete. I've got Patrick Mahomes, number 5. Steph Curry is my number 6. I don't think that's really disputable, right? Second most popular player in the NBA. I'm going to go Aaron Judge, number 7, and this represents an improvement for baseball. When you consider Ohtani's 4th, Judge's 7th, Judge is just kind of a mutant, and he's putting up video game numbers. And with an MVP, wins above replacement player being a 6, he's at a 6.8. All right? He's doing things right now that are literally unheard of. Unfortunately, I can't stop the Yankees from being in a tailspin. I've got Tiger Woods, number 8. Guys, you know as well as I do, if Tiger Woods is ever in contention again, all right, the world stops. The world stops when he's in contention. Now, I think golf has reached a place where it doesn't need Tiger Woods anymore to survive, right? I think the WNBA needs Caitlin Clark to survive. Golf doesn't need Tiger Woods, but Tiger Woods is still unquestionably, undoubtedly, the most famous golfer. I'm going to go Tom Brady, number 9. Now, you know, the whole Ken Mahomes catch Brady in the GOAT conversation is one that we're going to be debating over the next 10 years. Does he have to get him in Super Bowls, etc.? But even though he's no longer playing, he doesn't quite carry the cachet that Jordan does, but he's not that far off and signed the richest broadcasting deal in television history. And then number 10 for me, you tell me that I'm wrong, I'm going Caitlin Clark. I'm going Caitlin Clark as the 10th most famous athlete in America today. And I can prove this to you. For the entirety of your life, right, men's college basketball was far more popular than women's college basketball. Well, do you know that there's been a sea change going on in sports, in that sport? Because in the women's game, the best players are hanging around for 3-4 years. The best players on the men's side are out after a year, or they don't even go to college. They go play overseas. They go play in the G League, right? G League Ignite. Caitlin Clark goes to college basketball, plays there, lets us get to know her for 3 or 4 years. America falls in love with her. Do you know if you took the 10 best players in college basketball, men's college basketball, and you said, Mark, what's their social media following? You know what it is? On average, 1 through 10, 16,000 followers, okay, for the average of the 10 best men's college basketball players. By comparison, I have 12, okay? I have 12,000 followers. So the average among the 10 best men's college basketball players, 16,000 followers on X or Twitter. Caitlin Clark, as a college player, had over 300,000 Twitter followers. Okay? Again, let me ask you, is she one of the 10 most famous athletes in the United States of America? I answer that conclusively yes. So, I've got Clark 10, Brady 9, Woods 8, Aaron Judge 7, Steph Curry 6, Patrick Mahomes 5. Number 4 is Ohtani. 3, LeBron James. 2, MJ, Michael Jordan. And 1, Lionel Messi. 10 most famous athletes in America. These ideas, this list is my own, but should be adopted by you immediately. Stu Kovacs, is this list adopted by you immediately? Agree or disagree with what has been presented to you, sir?
I don't know if Clark has reached that top 10 yet.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Especially if you're including former
why the
players.
hating?
Yeah.
Really? Why the hating?
No, I think there are some NFL players and some NBA players that are more recognizable to the average sports fan right now than she is. Again, like, if you put her top 20, I think that's a very strong case. Maybe even top 15, but I think there are a few, like Joe Burrow, I think is more recognizable. Aaron Rodgers, I think is more recognizable. Yeah, at this point.
Okay. Well, maybe, more recognizable, but not more famous. Okay? The reason why is I think Clark's fame is in part due to the fact that she doesn't look like she should be able to do what she does, like Steph Curry. Steph Curry looks like he's 10 years old. Caitlin Clark looks like middle America. You know? I don't want to say she looks normal, but I do want to say that, like, you wouldn't look at Caitlin Clark and say that's one of America's best athletes. But I do want you to be aware, Stu, that she has single-handedly rehabilitated a league that was on the verge of death without her. All right, and she's done that by herself. They were on life support, man. They needed the paddles for the WNBA. You were forced as a network to carry the WNBA in order to get NBA games. Oh, no, we're not going to sell you the NBA unless you're willing to carry the WNBA too. They were the throw-in until Caitlin Clark got there. And now they just signed a $2 billion rights deal. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Lionel Messi, number 1, but Caitlin Clark in my top 10 most famous athletes in America today. What say you? How right did I get it? All right, up next on the show, Dabo Swinney, head coach of the Clemson Tigers, speaking out at the ACC kickoff about the expanded playoff. And guys, why I fail you on the expanded playoff is coming your way next. Marc Ryan in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Now it's time for a sports update with Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Mark, well, we had ourselves a little history with the Padres.
Here's the 1-0. Abrams swings, lines it into right field. Johnson coming on. He's got it, and the ball game is over. Dylan Cease says no hit. The Washington Nationals. On a rainy Thursday in D.C., the Padres will celebrate.
9 Ks, 114 pitches for Dylan Cease. First career no-hitter. Second in Padres history, joining Joe Musgrove in 2021 as the Padres shut down the Nationals 3-0, call courtesy of the Padres Radio Network. Couple games still going. Bottom of the 8th inning, the Rays roll over the Blue Jays 12-0, while the Dodgers hold a 3-2 advantage on the Giants. Bottom 5. Some other finals, the Orioles outlast the Marlins 7-6-10, despite giving back a 6-0 lead. Colton Cowser homered and drove in 3. Rangers double up the White Sox 2-1. Max Scherzer fanned 9 over 6 innings of 1-run ball. And the Tigers, they blanked the Guardians 3-0. Off the field, A's closer Mason Miller fractured his left pinky. This after punching a padded table in the training room. Russell Wilson, a new address in Pittsburgh, but the veteran unable to practice on the first day at camp due to a tight calf. Justin Fields got all the reps with the ones. As Wilson enters camp as the clear favorite, but Fields expected to give the former Super Bowl winner a run for the job. I'm Marco Belletti.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
Marc Ryan here, in for Zach Gelb on the Zach Gelb Show, the all-new Infinity Sports Network. JR Sport Brief is coming your way next. Had an awesome time here with you guys today. David in Dallas wants to take me to task on my list of most famous American athletes. Why am I not surprised that Lionel Messi is not number one call would come from Dallas, Texas, home of the land where football is king, but our kind of football, not theirs. David in Dallas, good to talk to you, my friend. You're on the all-new Infinity Sports Network. What's good, pal?
Hey, Mark, I'm sorry. And it's not even, I'm not saying that he should be an American football player. I actually would say American basketball players are the most famous because of the fact that you see their face all the time. You know, when I think about famous, I think about somebody who's a non-sports fan. You know, your Aunt B or somebody would know who they are, or at least be able to identify them. I think you could walk that Messi guy down a lot of streets here in America, people wouldn't know who the hell he is.
Well, I could tell you the same for Shohei Ohtani. Do you not think so?
Oh, I believe that. That's what I'm saying, but he wasn't number one.
Right. But Lionel Messi, his level of fame, the number of people who bow down at the Lionel Messi, bow down at his feet is greater than any other athlete in America. To your point, you're right. We're now in a place, man, where everyone's doing their own thing. And if you ask me who is the most recognizable, maybe Michael Jordan is still the most recognizable. Whereas like maybe 90% of Americans recognize Michael Jordan. But why is that? That's because, in my opinion, David, he was famous at a time when we all coalesced around the same activities. We all did the same thing. We all were watching the 92 Dream Team. Now we all have different interests, you know? So how many in rural America would recognize Aaron Judge? How many would recognize Patrick Mahomes in rural America? I'm not sure what the answer is. Who's your number one, though?
Oh, I think between football and basketball, that would probably be the majority of your list. And then you probably put Caitlin Clark in there. I mean, I'll give you an example. Could if you got Messi and Travis Kelce and walked him down the street, who do you think is more noticeable?
Well, okay. I mean, I see what you're saying. Travis Kelce, Mr. Taylor Swift, is recognizable. You might have a beef that he should be on my list for most famous American athletes. At the same time, I'm telling you, Lionel Messi is more beloved. He's more famous. He's more popular. All right? Lionel Messi has hundreds of millions of social media followers. Travis Kelce has 1 million social media followers. So I get your point, and I understand what you're trying to say. I'm just telling you, I don't think you understand the worldwide acclaim of Lionel Messi. And you're saying, well, that's not America. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to solve this, David, but I do appreciate the phone call, brother, nonetheless. 855-212-4227. That's 855-212-4227. Did I overlook Travis Kelce on this list of the 10 most famous athletes in America? So Dabo Swinney had their Clemson Media Day last week. And, guys, it's a cool event. I've been there a number of times. Clemson's coaches have you compete in football drills, the same drills that the football players compete in. So you're out there and you're kicking field goals and you're doing 40-yard dashes and so on and so forth. And at his media day, he spoke about the unintended consequences of college football, college football expanding to a 12-team playoff, right? We're going from 4 to 12 this year. And in my tease, I shared with you that I'm failing you. Why am I failing you? Because it's my job to take his side. It's my job to have an opinion. And on this topic, I'm kind of like Switzerland, man. I can see the positives and I can see the negatives. The positives are you begin the year with everybody having a shot. Everybody has a shot this year. You haven't said that about college football forever. The little guy never had a shot. Now, at least on paper, the little guy does. The other thing that's good is if your team loses a single game, the season isn't over. You got more teams playing more games that mean something later in the year. But there's undoubtedly some unintended consequences, and Dabo Swinney touches on those right here.
It's about making the playoffs. You know, that's really what everybody's goal is, and I think that is what will change gradually within the psyche of college football as it expands, and probably will expand more, is it's going to become all about the playoffs, which is fine. But I think there's probably unintended consequences for that too, you know, just like everything in that, you know, probably as we've seen guys opting out of bowl games and things like that, you'll probably see some guys, if you're 4-4 and probably out of the playoffs, probably see some guys head off to Arizona and train. It's probably an unintended consequence. You'll probably see some situations where, like you see in the NFL, the Ravens are in the playoffs. They got it locked up, right? They got the bye or whatever, and, they got one more game that really means nothing, right? Because it's all about the playoffs. So do you play Lamar in that game? And that's probably an unintended consequence in college, from a tradition standpoint is, maybe you're 11-0 and you got that rivalry game. But, you play your biggest foe next week in the conference championship, and if you win that game, you're going to get a bye. Those are things that are probably decisions you'll see play out all throughout college football, and which will probably, affect traditions and things like that. But, you got decisions to make.
Well, I'm here to tell you. Dabo's right, and he took a lot of heat for that. A lot of people said, look, man, you don't get with the times, you get left out. And, look, Dabo, to some degree, if they want to win a national championship again at Clemson, has got to get with the times when it comes to NIL and the transfer portal. But he's totally right about this. Guys, number one, if a team is 4-4, star players are going to sit out the rest of the year. They're not going to finish the season. Number two, if you got a team that's 11-0, you're going to have guys sit out rivalry games because a college football playoff berth has already been clinched. Number three, and this is me adding to what Dabo said. You heard it here first, okay? Timestamp this. It's at 5:50 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:50 p.m. Pacific, July 25th, 2024. Eventually, you're going to have players opting out of the college football playoff altogether, and you're going to have yahoos on social media defending their horrible decision. Number four, an unintended consequence, you're going to have playoff games that are not really competitive. When we had a 4-team playoff, the average margin of victory in the semifinal was 18 points. What do you think this is going to be with 12? There's no parity in this sport. And now that they're expanding the number of scholarships per team to 105, now the rich of the rich are going to get richer and be able to hoard the talent even more. I think this is all teaching young people that quitting is okay. Right? Okay, you're not in the playoff. Don't play in the bowl game. Quitting is okay. You don't have to finish what you start. I think that's a horrible lesson for young people. I think you're now going to have safety net games, whereas Ohio State, Michigan, the loser might lose everything they're playing for. Doesn't that game lose a little something if both teams are still in the playoff no matter what? How about the fact that you could have Michigan and Ohio State playing 3 times a year? And by the way, guys, one of the rules of sports fandom, Michigan's name goes first because they won the most recent game. Unfortunately for me, that means it's Georgia, Florida, Florida State, Florida, because they beat the Florida Gators most recently. It is Michigan, Ohio State. You could have those teams playing 3 times a year. How is that right? That's a one-time-a-year thing. Number 7 for me, unintended consequences of the expanded playoff. Conference championship games, I think, could replace bowl games as being quote-unquote exhibition games. Just exhibitions. Why play in them? Why do we really care if we win the conference championship game when we're already in the college football playoff? Why are we doing this? Why should I play? Why should I risk injury? Why should I risk my NFL status? You're going to watch and you're going to see, and the importance of conference championship games is going to be drowned out. And finally, it's going to be that the college football playoff is all that matters. And when you get to that point, what we have in college football begins to feel an awful lot like March Madness. And what's happened to March Madness? What's happened to college basketball? It's become a 3-week-a-year sport because we don't feel like we should pay attention when so many teams make March Madness. If my team can't be one of the 68 best, what do I care? They're not worthy of my time. Guys, you thought bowl games lost luster before? Wait till you see what happens now, okay? The practice squad is going to be playing in major bowl games moving forward for this school. But still, there are some positives. I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds. I just worry that the people at the controls of college football trying to squeeze every little last drop of money out of the sport are people that don't fully love the sport, and they're not fully looking out for what's best for the sport. Conference championship games, because of the money involved, are never going to go away, but they are going to feel a hell of a lot less important, as are these rivalry games, Auburn, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, etc. Guys, had a blast being here with you today. Big thanks to the great team here at the Zach Gelb Show. I look forward to seeing you Saturday on my show, 5 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Marc.